Hello all, I am currently in my closet. Real quick, I would have had a video uploaded sooner. I had it almost completely done. I just needed to add like a couple graphics I had made and don't know where all the footage went. Went into like my editing program and like the clips were all gone. So sorry for like a later upload, even though I don't have like a set upload schedule. I'm just trying to do like one a week really ish, but unfortunately that just didn't work out this week. I'll just have to be better, I guess. Sorry, but if I am able to find that footage and stuff, I'll make sure to post it with like a little clip at the front saying that it is the footage that I had lost. So sorry if it's not, the words I say in there are not like up to date. But today what I wanted to do is, well, for one thing, one of like my favorite YouTubers that I've been watching for years now is this beautiful woman named Loey Lane, and she does like a lot of stuff. But one of the things that had initially drawn me to her was whenever she used to read like just anything of like paranormal stories. She used to tell like personal ghost stories and paranormal stuff because a lot of that seems to happen to her if you believe in that stuff, but like she definitely believes in that stuff, so it does happen to her a lot. But she would also tell like stories of other people's experiences like on Reddit and stuff. So it's like it's spooky season and I wanted to do something slightly spooky. Plus I was on Reddit today and I was looking through like the ghost stories thread, and one of the rules of the subreddit is that it has to be stuff that people actually have had happen to them, and I don't know how much people actually like adhere to that, but like these seemed legit enough to those people. So I just wanted to read a few that I liked. I skimmed them because I kind of like wanted to be like a little bit of react. I didn't like try hard, but like I tried for like a solid like 5 minutes to make this seem like a little spookier. I've got like 2 Bath and Body Works candles burning right there and in my closet with me, mostly because I'm a scaredy cat. I brought my new little Mickey plushie I got at the Disney store. My sister got the matching mini one, and I bought some floating shelves on Amazon today. They should be here tomorrow actually, but I'm gonna hang them up together in our bathroom. It's like a Jack and Jill, so we both use it all the time. I'm gonna hang them up together so they can be together. But I think that'll be fun. Anyway, but he's here. Just know that he is. And nothing can hurt me because he's with me. He will protect me. Look, but he's so cute. Okay, enough of that. Ahem. So, and for one thing, I am sitting like in my closet with the door mostly closed. The lights are off in my closet except for these candles and like a little light right here so you can still see me. But like these candles are on and I'm just like in my closet. I can't have my fan on in my room or else you would be able to hear it. So I'm just kind of like dying in here. I had to take off my socks, so that sucks. Anyway, I'm gonna get into these like Reddit ghost stories and I'm going to link them down below, obviously. But just to preface, these are not my experiences. I'm just reading other people's experiences. I don't recall personally ever having a paranormal experience. I don't particularly believe or disbelieve either way. I don't think there's really any hard proof to that kind of stuff, but it's also something that's like hard to get proof of. But I'm not completely discounting it because that's kind of pretentious to just like outright say that something doesn't exist just because like we can't like always see it, or just because we don't completely understand something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. But like also I don't like hard believe in them. So I've been talking a long time. I'm gonna get into the stories now. This one is really short and isn't particularly scary, but I thought it would be nice to share. Okay, so this one is titled, "This is a True Story and I Still Can't Explain It." I wouldn't call this a ghost story, but it's still kinda spooky. So I'll start with some backstory. There was a man that used to live in my house before we moved there. I'll just call him H. He used to go to our church, so I vividly remember what he looked like. I was around 13 years old. I didn't have my own room, so I slept on the couch in the living room. The couch was positioned in a way that when I laid down, I was facing the bathroom. One night, I had a dream that I was laying on the couch in my usual position and H was standing in the bathroom. The light over the mirror was on and he was staring into it. He shifted his gaze to me, stared for a while, and then turned and walked through the hall. I then woke up. I was in the exact position as I was in the dream, except the light over the mirror was out. I wasn't scared and I was pretty confused as to why I was dreaming about this man I hadn't seen in years. I went back to sleep and didn't think about it the next day. A few days later, I told my mom about the dream during a car ride home. She asked if I was sure it was H. I told her I was. She seemed surprised for some reason. She asked me what night it was and I told her. She then explained that H had died that night, the same night that I had this out of nowhere dream about the man who used to own our house. It could be a coincidence, but I want to believe that he was saying goodbye to the house. I feel like the light being on in the dream and then being off when I woke up kind of symbolizes his passing. I still can't explain it. I think it's really interesting, those stories about like somebody has a grandma who's like pretty healthy, like not somebody who's like seconds from death, who isn't like so frail and you're kind of like expecting her time to come soon, but like, and then that person is asleep. In their dream, they get a visit from their grandma and they have like a conversation or whatever, like a goodbye or something, and then they wake up and they get a call or their mom wakes them up saying that grandma has passed. And then it's like kind of like the grandma came and said goodbye as she was passing on, like right as they were sleeping, which stories like that I think are really sweet. I like the idea of it a lot. Okay, this one is kind of like pretty much exactly like that one. Not exact, but it has like the same thing I was just talking about. It's called Death Notifications. This is a story, or stories rather, that I've told very few people and would finally like to share it with everyone. The topic is dear to my heart, so I only share it with close friends and lovers. I believe this is triggered by an extreme emotional connection, and I was wondering if any of you have experienced anything similar. The first story is about my sister who died of SIDS. And for those of you who don't know, SIDS stands for Sudden Infant Death Syndrome. It's kind of like an umbrella term for when like a baby like dies and you don't particularly know why. A lot of them are connected, I believe. There's no solid explanation, but a lot of them, I believe people have theorized, are connected with like sleep apnea and stuff. But like there have been like cases of babies dying from SIDS where it's infanticide, I think that's how it's pronounced, where like people kill their babies, but I don't think that's what happened here, but just like a quick thing on SID. So the first story is about my sister who died of SIDS. It was my 10th birthday party and I had a few friends over for a sleepover. That house was creepy in general and a lot of things happened there I cannot explain, but that is a story for another time. We're having a normal 10-year-old boy sleepover in the 90s, playing video games, watching movies, playing flashlight tag, etc. Everything seemed normal until I went to sleep. I dreamt of my stepmother getting up to use the bathroom and checking on my little sister. She was around 4 months old. The dream was very realistic, like I was standing right there watching this all unfold. She notices my sister is very still, places her hand under her nostrils, and noticed she wasn't breathing. I was woken up by a close family friend who was rounding up my friends to take them all home. On the car ride home to the hospital, my friend's mom was explaining what happened, and I already knew. I still believe that house or the things in it had something to do with her death. I'll post a story on that house some other time. Story 2. My grandfather. He was a World War II vet, and I spent a majority of my early childhood staying with him. One day I took a nap after school, and another realistic dream occurs. I'm standing there on his front porch, and he's collapsed there. I tried talking to him and helping him, but no response. This dream lasted roughly 30 seconds, it felt like. I awoke abruptly and asked my mom if we could go over there. We did, and we found him dead from a heart failure in the exact location I saw in the dream. Story 3, the most vivid one of all that still freaks me out to this day. When my father passed away, I was asleep. It was roughly 5 a.m. The dream occurs and I instantly know something is wrong. I'm standing in his hospital room and my aunt and uncle are there with my dad. My uncle is by his bedside and had a Bible in his hand. My father asked him to start reading where my grandmother left off before she passed, but he couldn't find the place. My dad looks up and says, just start in the middle. 10 minutes or so pass and my uncle looks at my aunt and says, he's gone. We should call Josh. I woke up by the phone ringing and hear my mother's saddened voice. She came in my room and was surprised I was awake. She was going to tell me the news, but I just looked up and said, I already know. I went over the details with my shocked uncle, and that's exactly how it happened, word for word. How this happens truly baffles me and makes me wonder what else the mind locks away that we can't access on a daily basis. Long post, but those who took the time to read it, I hope you can get some enjoyment from the strange things I've experienced in the dreamlike state. And that one, as I said, that's one of the things that super interests me. But real quick, somebody posted the dumbest comment on this. It says, probably not the place for this, but your Sid's sister was 4 months old. Most babies are vaccinated at birth, 2, 4, 6 months, and so on. Many cases of SIDS occur after vaccination, and many parents feel that is the cause. Not sure if she was recently vaccinated, but it's a possibility. Which is 1, how dare you? 2, stupid. Somebody commented and said, this is the biggest load of BS. 99% of SIDS cases are caused by sleep apnea. This was told to me by a doctor. And again, I haven't done my own research. I don't know how much are actually caused by sleep apnea, but she confirmed my thing, sort of. I have a couple more I have saved, but I'm just gonna read one more. It is a little bit longer. I think it was my favorite one out of these though, but I'm gonna get into that one now. This one is titled, My Childhood Home Was Infested with Bad Spirits, Maybe Even Worse. When I was about 6 years old, my mom had just purchased her first home. She was recently divorced and trying to find a house large enough for her 4 daughters and 1 son, which is very challenging to do as a single mother in Central California. Her budget put our family just beyond city limits, surrounded by orchards. We lived in the house for about a week before my oldest sister Jess, 14 years old, started complaining to my mom that she felt creeped out when she was alone. My mom thought it would pass once we all got settled in. Another week goes by and we start noticing lights being on and off when they shouldn't be and items being misplaced. Soon, all of us kids felt a bit uneasy to be left alone. My younger sister Alexa, 4 years old, shared a room with me. Our room had a bunk bed, piles of toys, and a rocking chair in the corner. The chair was there when we moved in, and my mom thought it was quaint, so we went ahead and kept it. Soon after we moved in, Alexa and I both started experiencing nightmares, which doesn't seem too odd except for the fact that it was the same subject matter. We both dreamt of an old woman rocking in our chair. In our dreams, this old woman made us feel scared. Not of her, but what else was in our house. She would tell us to get knives to protect ourselves in case it got us. Being scared kids, we obliged and started hiding knives under our pillows, hoping that our dreams would stop. My mom was helping us clean our room one day and found our little stash of weapons. After we told her about the woman in the chair, she promptly threw the chair out and we were allowed to sleep in her room that night to help us relax. Real quick, can you imagine just being a single mother, trying your best, cleaning your kid's room, like your 6-year-old and your 4-year-old, and you find knives underneath their pillows, and when you're like, why? They're like, the lady in the rocking chair in our dreams told us so, in our individual dreams. And just be like, it's a very strong woman, I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. That night, the 3 of us lay in her bed and tried to drift to dreamland when we started to hear the footsteps. It sounded like someone was walking around our living room and coming down the hallway. It was past bedtime, so my mom thought it was one of the other kids wandering around. She yelled at them to go to bed. It sounded like the footsteps were coming closer her bedroom. She called out again and started to get out of bed when the door opened. The hallway light was on, but no one was outside the door. The hallway was empty. She checked my baby brother and sister's room, 2-year-old twins, and Jess's. All of them are still in bed, but heard the steps too. Everyone is a bit freaked out, but we're told to go to sleep and not to worry. The next day, my mom makes a point to keep us kids distracted and outside for most of the day. By the time it's time to come inside, we're all wiped and ready to pass out. Sometime in the night, I woke up needing to pee. So I walked into the hallway, flip on the lights, and go towards the bathroom. I pull down my Scooby-Doo PJ bottoms and sit on the toilet when I get the most overwhelming sensation that I'm not alone. Everything is still and the air becomes so tense that it almost feels oppressing. The shower curtain is closed, but I just know that something is on the other side. Just as I start peeing, when the curtain is forcefully pulled open, I run out of the restroom so fast that I don't even pull up my pants and I'm peeing down the hallway going towards my room. I don't even stop to turn off the hallway lights as I hide behind my open door. I can hear footsteps coming down the hallway closer to me. The steps sound heavy, almost like fast stomping. I'm petrified and starting to cry when I hear what sounds like labored breathing. The light from the hallway shines in my room as I see a shadow form on the ground blocking some of the light. I finally find my voice and scream like a forking banshee. My mom and Jess are in my room within seconds, and Alexa looks very upset that I woke her up in such a way. I explained what happened to them through my sobbing. Everyone was confused, especially when they realized I was half naked and covered in my piss. My mom makes me take a bath, and I sleep with her that night. Good call. The oppressing atmosphere transitions into seeing shadows around the house, witnessing doors opening and light switches flipping off and on almost daily. We even heard voices a couple times. My mom started checking on us each night before she went to bed to make sure we were okay. One night she finished doing her rounds when she walked past my room. I was on the top bunk and peacefully asleep, but my blankets were off of me and looked like someone was sitting underneath them at the end of my bed. It looked like the figure was facing her. She said she was in disbelief and couldn't react at first, but then the blankets dropped back onto me abruptly. She turned on the lights and rushed us into her room that night. I'm pretty sure that was the last time we slept in our room. My mom thought we deserved a dog, and to be honest, I think it made her feel better to have some sort of protection. So we got a white boxer mix. I named him Snowball because I'm 6 with no originality. Snowball was fantastic. He let me dress him up in ridiculous outfits and followed me everywhere. I loved him because he made me feel safe. He also alerted us when anything we couldn't see was around. We'd be lounging together in the living room and he'd randomly jerk up and start growling in a direction. We never saw what he did, but we knew that he sensed it. He did this a few times a day, but I'm convinced that he had an impact on the presence because things seemed to calm down for a while. I was in the garage playing with Snowball when I heard what sounded like kids laughing, but like 10 kids laughing very closely to me. Snowball jumps up and starts snapping in all directions around me. He has a crazed look in his eyes and starts to whimper when the laughing stops. It's replaced with a really low growling noise that isn't coming from my dog. I start crying and screaming for my sisters who were home. They come in the garage and we decide to play outside until my mom came home from work. As soon as we open the front door, Snowball runs out and takes off down the road. It's past sunset and she still isn't home, neither is our dog. We're the last kids outside in the neighborhood and start to accept that we have to go inside soon. The house seems darker than usual, just all around creepy. Just as we're about to walk in, a car pulls into our driveway and it's our grandma. Our mom is in the hospital after she was attacked and assaulted by a man while she was heading to her car after work. We stay with our grandma for a few weeks while my mom recovers. Snowball returned to our yard but refused to go into the house. We decided to rehome our dog and to move to Missouri to be closer to other family. A fresh start that we all wanted. We packed up the entire house in one day and moved. I apologize for the length this turned out to be, but I hope it wasn't too boring of a read. I left out a couple other significant incidents but maybe I'll share them in another post. Our forever home turned into a short-lived nightmare, and I'm still afraid of the dark at 24 years old, but it brought my family closer together. When you're tormented by an unseen force in your home, everything else seems a bit easier. And then they made an edit to the post and added some more little stuff that happened, so here we go. Edit, some of the other incidents that we experienced in that house were really bizarre. I can't wrap my head around them even now. Once my mom was loading us kids into our van before heading to my grandma's for dinner. The twins are secured in the back seat, Alexa is sitting next to them, and Jess gets shotgun. I'm walking out of the house last while my mom is about to lock the door. Before she can close it, we both feel an intense heaviness in the air and look into the house. From our view, we are looking straight down the hallway towards the bedrooms. We both see what looks like Alexa standing in our bedroom doorway. This thing even had on the same clothes that she was currently wearing. It looked so much like her that we both turned to look at the van, which had Alexa sitting in it. When we turned around, this thing was running down the hallway towards us. I screamed and ran to the van, and my mom slammed the door closed and locked it. Another time, I was laying in my top bunk watching a movie with Alexa, who was on the ground below me. We're really into this movie when I start to feel that someone is watching us. My head is close to our window, so I open the blinds enough to peek outside. What I see next still haunts me. My backyard was decent sized, and its end was marked by a row of the neighboring orchard. That night, the moon was full, and it lit up my backyard well enough to see what looked like 5 shadow figures staring back at me. They looked almost smoky, like they were made of a thick black fog. Their appearance isn't what frightened me most though, it was the pure hatred that I felt coming from them, like they wanted to hurt me. I stared at them for what seemed like forever before I screamed for my mom. She was in the living room with some of her friends when they heard me scream out about some people being in our backyard. At this point, it's key to mention that my mom is a bad Ash who shifts into mama bear mode immediately. When she hears that there's people in our yard staring at her children's window, she grabs a large knife from our kitchen and has the group of friends follow her outside towards the back. They're out there for about 10 minutes before coming back inside empty-handed. Another time, Alexa and I were playing with our mom in her bed. We had just finished our nightly prayer and turned off the lights. My mom had a collection of neat lights that featured lava lamps and a bulb that produced what I thought was lightning. So the room had a decent amount of light. Soon we heard those same footsteps coming towards the room from the hallway again. At this point, we're used to it, but still stare in the direction of the door. The thing is, though, that the footsteps always stopped at her door, and that would be the end of the activity. Not this time. We all saw a silhouette of a large entity go through her door like it didn't exist and continue directly in front of the bed. We were frozen with fear when it came to my mom's side of the bed and stopped for a moment, and then proceeded to walk through our bed to the center and then disappeared through the floor. The room felt ice cold and very still. Alexa wasn't having any of it and started screaming, which was followed by me. We ended up sleeping in the living room that night after my mom made us a massive fort out of sheets. We loved forts, and were very pleased once all of us were inside and cozy. It felt safe to have a small barricade, even if it was just a sheet. We experienced faucets turning on throughout the day, even though no one was even in the room. We also found scratches on my baby brother and sister. Both didn't have long enough nails or arms to scratch their backs that way. We'd find toys moved in the garage randomly, even though we hardly went in there. My mom had done some research while living there and later told us that supposedly the neighborhood was thought to be built on a native burial ground. It turned out that when my mom spoke to a few of our neighbors, they told her that they had shared similar experiences in their home. So there's a big possibility that there's an entire haunted neighborhood in the Central Valley, which I never plan on visiting again. Okay, that's all the ones that I'm gonna tell for today, but that is the strongest mom having to deal with, I think it was 5 kids, and like ghosts on top of it. That's insane. Like, she's so tough and I respect her so much. But I really hope you enjoyed that. If you did, I can read more Reddit stories. It doesn't have to be the ghost stories, but I really liked that subreddit, like all the threads in there. I think they had a lot of cool stories with it, and they all claim to be true. And I saw some like funnier ones. If you want me to do some funnier ones at some point, kind of like those annoying ghost ones that they're just kind of dicking around. I want to do some spookier videos for this month because this is like the only month where it's kind of acceptable to do that, and I love stuff like that. If you have any ghost stories that are interesting, you can let me know them because I always love to read them, even though I'm a big wuss and I'll just hide under my blankets forever until the problem goes away. Problem never really goes away, but eventually I like fall asleep, so that's good enough. Alright, but thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll try to have another video out soon, but y'all have a great day. Happy spooky season! Bye! Also check out Loey Lane, she's dope.